Hey everybody, welcome to the Combo Wombo podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Gimpy, along with the one, the only, the Chipped Monk. What's up, brother?
Yo. What it do?
Did your voice go through a deepening simulator? You're just in it. You're just ready to rock.
Bro, I'm locked in. I'm focused.
That's all right.
I'm ready, dude.
What's good? What's new, brother? What's new? We'll start there.
Sheesh. Nothing, bro. I've just been chilling, working at work, and then coming home. And I've been staying with the writing schedule. I've been writing every day.
Sweet.
Except for yesterday. I took yesterday off. It's kind of not, I try not to not write or force myself to write. But I also try to at least sit down to write, you know? Like we've said about like game development and stuff too, where it's like you gotta try and like build up a habit or like some sort of a ritual behind like how you're doing it. Like even if you sit down for 5 minutes, if you're not doing game dev, at least an attempt was made. And like if you're lucky, like sometimes you'll like start to work and start to code or work on art or whatever it is. Like so I don't know, I've been doing that. I'll take my laptop and I'll go like sit down in my bed and I'll like start to type or think about the story, at least like open up like a Word document. And then
pull the mic away just a tad.
A little bit?
Yeah,
getting loud?
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
I don't know, bro. You're
good.
You're good.
No, you're good. It's just when you're talking, you pulled him close. That's all. Go ahead.
I'm getting closer. I'm getting more into it.
Yeah, you're getting into it, man. You're just like, let me tell you something, brother, is what you want to.
Hogan. Yeah, dude, 5. Let me tell you about the 5 time. Yeah, bro. So yeah, I don't know. I'll sit down, try and open up a Word document, like at least make an attempt at writing. So I did some of that yesterday, and I made like 2 attempts, and like nothing really came out. I thought about the story a bunch and where it was going, and I was getting there, and I was hoping a little bit more for like reader feedback for like the last chapter, because like I was like, I'm not sure if people like it or not, and like it was all just positive. And so then I was like, all right, do I continue down this, or do I keep like pushing forward with the story where I want it to go? Otherwise I can like expand a little bit like on this development in the story, and I want to do both, which I don't think is a great way to approach it, because then like I feel like nobody's happy. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna do like a brief, like the first half of the next chapter will probably be covering like stuff like the outcome from the last chapter, and then the second half will be pushing it forward. But yeah. So, even the way like I wrote like the outline is like they're almost like monthly summaries of what happens in that character's life, and then when I go to draft, I like kind of pull out like the best events from that like a month or couple of months of that summary. Like, what's interesting? Tell me about that part. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So the timeline of your writing, or so let me rephrase that. So I know you know where the story's going for your writing project. How like close are you to the end?
Oh, like this first arc?
Yeah.
Pretty close. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like
I know it's different when you're writing it, right? Yeah. But I know I'm not asking for like a set chapter. Just in your mind, like where.
So yeah, like in the outline right now, where I would be at, he would already have like a school of adventuring set up, and he'd be like doing that part of the novel.
Okay.
Instead, I like it could, because of reader feedback, I expand a little bit more like on like him learning different trades and stuff, and so that like pushed it all the way back. So I think within the next like 4 or 5, he'll finally have that set up. Then he gets like a summons back to like meet with his family, and then he gets like thrown into like some bullshit arranged marriage, spoilers. So then after he gets married, he brings her back to a school of adventuring, and then because he's like a lesser noble house, he doesn't have to get conscripted, but like the war in the fortress to the east is like popping off.
All right, I'm gonna stop you there. I'm actually reading your story, so I'm stop you there for the spoilers.
But yeah, as he gets over to that's kind of like the end of this first arc.
Okay.
And like what I've been a little bit worried about is like there's not a ton of action, in this.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's okay,
Yeah.
At least for me, it's okay because I find well, like I said, I don't read like fan fiction typically, but in like combat oriented books that I've read, right, where it's like
Yeah.
kind of about like battles or whatever, um, when you just get to combat immediatli
Yeah.
it's there's no payoff later on in the book usually.
Yeah.
So like I said, for some of the stuff I've been into BattleTech really a lot lately, just courtesy of like my love of big stompy robots, and I've been reading some of the novels associated with it, and I won't name this one, but I read one a short, it's like probably 70 pages,
Yeah. The legendary mechanic.
about one of the clans, and the book was like nothing but battles from like page 3 on,
Yeah.
and there was not enough like in between parts of the battles to really build character. So I found myself
Yeah.
not caring about the characters or the battle at hand. It's a part of a bigger overarching narrative, but even then, I'm kind of done with the narrative because the same writer wrote like 2 more books in the arc, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
This dude's trash.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta like drop stuff or like try and skip chapters to like does this just keep going? Like I'll do that a lot. I'll skip ahead like a few chapters. I'm like, damn, they're still talking about the same. Because I've had the opposite where like they're like the writer gets like so fucking up their own ass with their world building where like I'll skip ahead like a few chapters. I'm like, bro, they're still talking to the same big bad evil guy for like explaining shit that has nothing to do with this that happened, 300 years ago. And then he's like going through like his family history and like this betrayal and shit. And I'm like, bro, that was like 8 chapters. You've just like, light novel chapters. And so it's like 16, 20 pages. It's like 20 pages you just dedicate to some bullshit about some guy who's about to die. Like, I don't give a fuck. And so I'll just like skip ahead and I'm like, all right, yeah, he dies. Like, and I'm like, all right. Sure. And like, it didn't really, I don't know, like anime does this too a lot. It's like a kind of a trope where they're like, we'll introduce some bullshit side character and then they like have a flashback. You're like, oh, this guy's for sure gonna die. And it's like the most tragic backstory ever. You're like, I don't care, dude. Like, we know you're about to get diced up.
Right. But yeah, no, dude. Like the fact that you're focusing on writing, and you've made a point to say that in your own game dev stuff, you didn't like writing. Right. So I think this is a wonderful exercise for you into finding the fun, finding the love for writing. So maybe you can bring that over into the other mediums that we participate in. So that's awesome.
It's been really relaxing, man. What about you, man? What you been out? Other than that, I've just been playing Hearthstone and that's about it.
Yeah.
They got like new tavern mode and it's kind of lame. I don't know, I showed you some of it before this.
The game keeps it's a live service game, right? So it keeps moving. There's good, there's bad. And so that's awesome, man. And you're still playing it, so it's obviously fun enough to keep you hooked.
I think it's annoying enough where like after I lose a game like that last one where I'm just like, oh, I can take a break and do something else now.
Gotcha.
It like motivates me. Like it's like instead of playing like good video games where I'd invest, my whole week of free time to, I can play like a really bad video game and then I'm like, man, this is bullshit, I'm gonna go do something else.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, man, with me, let me start. I've been playing a little bit of the new Valve MOBA third person kind of Paragon like Deadlock.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of been the rave this week for
it's the new hotness.
It's the new hotness. It is.
It looked all right from what I've seen.
Streamers can now stream it without getting into Valve trouble.
That's ridiculous that wasn't day one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still, to play it, you have to be invited still.
Only.
That's interesting now that that's the worst kept secret that Valve has ever had, and now it's there. But I'm enjoying it. I don't know if I like everyone is praising it and like sucking it off. I don't know if I am at that point, but I'm having fun and playing it with like a group of friends will be there. But I don't really play MOBAs either, right?
Yeah, so I haven't really seen you been like deep. I haven't seen you play like Dota or League.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely liked League, a while ago.
Battle of the Storm.
But I grew out of it, right? Here's the Storm was actually fun and a unique take on the MOBA genre. I
enjoyed that one more than League, personally.
I thought that one was better from a casual perspective, but I think League combines the casual and the competitive so well that it's hard
It's just
for
like
other
too
games
toxic
to
of a
do it.
community.
That's
man.
true.
It's
That is true. We'll see how Deadlock handles that, or if it
the
becomes
game
toxic.
is
But
too long, dude. Like we are talking about a little bit before this, like before the pod started up about Hearthstone, and like you're talking
Yeah.
about like a Snap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of like the perfect length. Those games are used to they're like 5 to 10 minutes, and I was like, yeah, it's the biggest thing I don't like about Hearthstone is like the games can go from like 20 to 30 minutes, and I feel that same way about like League of Legends, where it's like even like the most casual of games, like you can't even surrender till like 15 minutes or something. Like I think they lowered it to 12 or now, but yeah, it's like fuck, you have to waste so much like. And I talked a little bit about like in Hearthstone where like you just get like shitty hands. It's like obvious you're gonna lose by like turn 4 or 5, and it's like you dragging me out for like another 15. Like you're just like a desperate gambler hoping for like the good winning hand to pop up.
What's funny, when you were finishing your Hearthstone game, I played 4 games of Snap.
Yeah, dude.
So it's, I mean, definitely they're 2 different games, but the time of commitment is much less. But yeah, so Deadlock has been fun, but that leads me into talking about Valve as a whole. So Valve for years has
decades
clearly not been making games, right? They've been really full bore going into the software or the platform side of it.
Selling hats.
In the early 2000s, Gabe Newell came out when Steam launched. He said, I want to be Nintendo. To have hardware that sells, to have very well reviewed software, to make software for your hardware that are killer apps. That was their goal, is to be Nintendo. Now, how do you become Nintendo? Nintendo has had, at that point in time, Nintendo has already had 30 years of experience of doing this.
It's true. It's damn true.
So Valve put their heads down and started grinding out that experience. Yes, in the early 2000s we had Steam launched with Half-Life 2. So post that we had Team Fortress 2. We had the Orange Box, which included Portal, which was a separate dev team that Valve brought in, but it was a Valve release. And we had the Half-Life episodes, and then Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, and then CS:GO was a thing, and then a long ass hiatus of nothing from Valve. We had Artifact, which came out and got canceled pretty
speaking
quickly.
Of card games, dude.
Yeah, speaking of card games. No, I won't get into
Artifact, dude?
I won't get into it. There is a Death of a Game. Shout out to Nerd Slayer on YouTube, who does go over what went wrong with Artifact. Highly recommend that YouTube video. But won't get into that. But what Valve did at this point was they were making hardware. They made Steam machines, which failed. They made the Steam controller, which failed. But that led to, and then each one of these things has had Linux support, and then they were advancing Linux
built the Steam OS.
They built the Steam OS. Yep.
The controller gave controller support across all Steam games.
Yep.
So it was like they failed in a sense that they didn't like meet mass market appeal and sell units.
Yes.
The other part was like manufacturing problems. They couldn't manufacture enough of them, so they're always like on back order and shit.
Yep.
They had like broken stuff, so they're learning manufacturing hardware and software for consumer grade product all at the same time.
Yep. And then they jumped headfirst into VR, becoming one of the pioneers of it. Yes, Quest and the HP products came out first, and Quest hit that like mass appeal right on the head. But to this day,
I think price point wise was their biggest thing. Whereas like everyone had like seen literally decades at that point of failure of VR, and then this was like, okay, this looks good and it's like affordable. Where I'm willing to gamble on a new VR experience. Whereas I think like prior to that, it was like like the Virtual Boy, which is giving like just red lines and giving people headaches and shit, and then the other things were like big entertainment conglomerates where you'd have to go to a place and step up into a suit or like some crazy gerbil ball and pay like money for like an hour-long experience, and you're like, I'm not sure if I enjoyed that, but it was something.
But Valve jumped in and we had the Index, and this is the moment that Valve succeeded in becoming Nintendo, in my opinion, at least the Nintendo of old. the Valve Index launched, Half-Life Alyx launched. They got the new
Dropped it.
hardware. They got the killer app. We're to the point where the adoption of the hardware and the app were near, 1-1 or, at
Yeah.
launch. Obviously, it's different now, but I believe the first, and, don't quote me, I'm just going off of memory here, but the first week of sales, it was hand in hand with the Index, And I think they bundled it, so that's probably why, just like Mario was bundled with Nintendo back in the day, right?
Yeah.
But the game was also amazing.
Yeah,
So
it was a great game.
they had an amazing game. They had amazing hardware. That was their Nintendo moment. And people thought, okay, cool. Valve's back to making games. They've explored the Half-Life universe again.
Yeah.
We're going to get more.
When's Half-Life 3?
They weren't done. They
Oh.
weren't done.
But wait, there's more.
Steam Deck came out, which took the failure of the Steam machine, the failure of the Steam controller, combining it into a handheld just device, and making PC games the new Game Boy, the new DS.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I feel like it's still overpriced. Like they still haven't gotten to like that volume of sales to like lower the production unit cost or whatever, but it's out there. They have like SKUs.
It's the cheapest option of all the handhelds, though.
Yeah, and it's like the best one as well.
Yes.
Like price to hardware to software ratio. Like there's been like a slew of like other people throwing their hats in the arena. Like we got like, was it Grog
Ally, and
Zeus, I think, has one.
Yep.
HP. There's like a few generic ones, and then like you have your Nintendo.
But
Switch.
Like Nintendo, the Game Boy, the DS was never the most powerful thing on the market. It sold the most and it had the most support. And that's where Valve is right now. And honestly, the Steam Deck is amazing. They released the OLED model, which I didn't upgrade to, but that's been doing super well. I love my Steam Deck, dude. It's fantastic. So, and also, keep in mind what I said about them. They're Nintendo. They added Aperture Labs was the bundled free game with the Steam Deck to use the new controls. It used every portion of the Steam Deck that was new, the gyroscope and everything, in a small package that was fantastic. You could beat it in like 15 to a half hour, 15 minutes to a half hour, right? But it showcased the product, and it was very fun, and I didn't feel like I wasted my time. So once again, they Nintendo'd it. So what happens when Valve accomplishes their goals? They go back to the drawing board and go, you know what? We were a game dev studio first. And they had a culture of no bosses. Just work on what you want, no deadlines, whatever. Just when it's done, it's done.
Hippie bullshit, dude.
Hippie bullshit. And they realized it sounds great on paper.
It's done. Nothing ever gets done, especially when like your high watermark is like Nintendo quality, dude.
Yes.
You can't finish any shit, bro. Because here's the thing: by the time you get to the end of development, you can do better. Like on any of your like any artistic endeavor, like if you're writing a book, by the time you get to the end of the book, you're like, "Fuck, I need to go back and edit it." If you're creating a game, by the time you get to the end, you're like, "Okay, we didn't really take into consideration like these unique uses of like interactions that a player can have with whatever it is, like unique abilities or the environment and stuff." And it's like we can go back and redo it. I know, like in Hollow Knight, I think there's like a part of the game where like the person designed the levels and they're like, "Shit, we can change up like this whole ability," and then they had to like scrap a bunch of shit and like go back and redo it.
Team Cherry is 3 people though, so you know. But
it's a little bit easier to have like no bosses when there's 3 people. I don't know if that scales. It's hippie nonsense when you get to 100 man, 1,000 man team.
let me interject here.
All right.
It also.
And nobody's super.
they've restructured to where there's bosses. I think their deadlines are more like milestone goals to keep getting funding now, and not so much like hard deadlines. And again, this is just rumor because Valve is such a tight knit company where things that come out you have to take with a grain of salt. But I'm just giving it to everybody else here. But they hired one of the Half-Life Incursion mod guy, who made a fucking phenomenal Half-Life 2 mod. There are other Half-Life 2 modders that expanded the story of it and really captured the essence of what Half-Life is. And they've been working for Valve between 1 to 3 years now. And the last time somebody who made Half-Life mods worked for Valve, we got Half-Life Alyx. So, and like everyone else, I've been waiting for Half-Life 3 for, the better part of my life at this point.
I haven't, dude. They already announced that it was canceled like
Well,
back in
yeah,
08.
but they could still go into the world, right? It's not. I'm not saying it's Half-Life 3 that we would have gotten, and they obviously released the story, the original writer. But
they didn't even finish like the episodes, dude. Like you guys are
no.
Let me
finish.
I didn't know you were one of these people, bro.
No. If not for Gordon Freeman and whatever,
waiting for the return of your Gordon Freeman, dude.
I enjoy the world. And Half-Life Alyx
it's
going
great
back
world.
to the world.
Great story.
I absolutely enjoyed it. So if we never go back to Gordon, I'm okay. I do like exploring that world and seeing where the combat goes. And honestly, I would love to see what them go back to because obviously Gordon's in a different world because he got transported by G-Man at the end of Half-Life 1. I would love to see what happened to the original world Gordon was in after the Resonant Cascade. So that's my thought. There's
Half-Life Alyx though, like
no, Half-Life Alyx was still in the combat. Here there, but
anyway, just on that. That's
Valve ramps up development on projects when they're close to releasing. They hire more developers. So more things start leaking, and I guarantee you, Valve does this on purpose.
No, I think it's just contractors. I think people are excited to be working on those properties, and a lot of portfolio pieces start to like show up and stuff. You're like, it looks a lot,
but
looks very Half-Life-esque.
That just happened with Deadlock, right? Deadlock was the worst kept secret in the industry, and now per invites and everything, it's out. It's basically out at this point, and people are loving it. So, there's rumored to be that Valve has increased their employees by hundreds in the past year. So, some of that could have been, Steam Deck OLED. Some of it definitely is Deadlock. But usually when a project is complete or near complete, you see a drop off, right? The temp employees their contracts are fulfilled. They don't come back. They don't stay on.
They bounce.
But no one who's been hired from like the Half-Life mod team has been let go as of now from like Twitter stuff. So Valve is definitely ramping up on something big. We all know the other worst kept secret is their new VR device that's portable. It's like going to be a Quest competitor. We know that. So and the Steam Deck also is contributing to that, having a portable device. So everything they do is interconnected, and I would love another like docu series on Valve internal. But yeah, that
I'm surprised we haven't gotten like a good like Ouya style console, like an Android, desktop that's like hit the zeitgeist. I know there's like a few things out there. As for excitement over what's going on over at Valve, man, I could care less. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't really get my hopes up anymore. They've broken my heart too many times. For me, I'm more interested in like Nintendo dropping a new console or a new GTA. Like, we saw those leaks and stuff.
That's
I'm
fair.
like,
That's fair.
That stuff seems way more fun and interesting
Attainable.
to me. Yeah, it seemed like, surefire bets, type of thing. Where it's like, I never bet on Valve. That's
that's fair.
They got enough money where they can like ramp up, and they've killed so many games and projects.
They killed Left 4 Dead 3, I believe, twice. So, because it didn't meet internal quality standards, whatever those may be.
What it could be. I don't think it's crazy that didn't, but like, what was the Artifact did? Like, what the fuck is going on over there? They're like, we made this like really, like we saw all these people making money, and we thought we could make some money too. So we threw out like this, and I don't know, they put like a winning team behind it. If I were to go by popular wrestling parlance, they gave them everything they needed to get over, right? They had like one of the best trading card game designers ever. They had, like,
made Magic the Gathering.
They had like one of the best IPs ever, Dota. And then, they have one of the biggest distribution platforms with basically unlimited advertising on it, and they fucked it up. It's just like it wasn't fun, right? It's like you came out with the gobbledygooker, dude. It was like this wrestling turkey, and you're like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea on paper. And it probably, speaking of WWE, so they wanted to make a mascot, so they came up with the gobbledygooker, which was like a turkey. And on paper, that sounds fucking amazing. It's just like such a stupid execution of a great idea. This Artifact is like shitty execution of a great idea, where it's like, I think a trading card game on the Steam platform where you can buy and sell cards with other people is a great idea. I've said this about Hearthstone and stuff, where like early on was like you're buying this card, and then they would update and change the card, and I'm like, all right, this is kind of bullshit. You sold me this card, and now you're changing it. Like I feel like I was basically robbed. It's like you came in and stole. It's like you came over to my house, saw my trading cards, and wrote on them with the Sharpie. And you're like, now they work this way. It's like, fuck you, dude. Like you ruined my card.
Yep.
Like I understand that like power creep's a real problem, especially like in like these type of games. It's
CCGs
like
are big,
yeah, notorious. Like like even other games and shit, like League of Legends and stuff. Every time there's a new champion, you know they're gonna be overpowered. You know they're gonna be broken. It's just to sell the new champ to get them over. You're like, I want it. I want the win card. I want the win character. So yeah, man, it is what it is. I would like to see WWE try a new mascot. I think it's a great idea.
all right.
Yeah.
So
that's all I'm saying.
So to kind of just wrap up this episode a little bit, I'd like to talk about the games on the horizon, since it's usually it's that time of year, right? Where November, like fall's coming up. We all know games are coming out. I don't want to hear about the AAA games though. I just want to give some games that aren't going to sell AAA copies, I don't think. But I'm personally looking forward to that. Maybe get people thinking, right? And I chose some games. Some might not be there, but I'll go. So one, I'm looking forward to Alien Incursion. It's a VR alien game with the xenomorphs from the franchise of Aliens. Alien Romulus is out right now in theaters. Alien Isolation is one of the best horror games ever made, and to do something like that in VR, I am ecstatic about. So I'm looking forward to Alien Incursion.
Resident Evil remake mods, right?
Yeah. Never beat a game in there, but I played. I just fucked around in it,
How was it? Was it like more terrifying? Was it more interesting? Was it like not immersive enough because it was a mod?
It was more immersive, and actually, it's the way I would prefer to play all of them, truthfully, especially because I've played them. They're remakes, right? They did change some things, but it's nice to experience it from. I'm in it, right? Because when you're a kid playing these games, I'm like, oh man, if I was, so that's cool. Seeing Nemesis in, first person is incredible. Seeing Mr. X and just lumbering towards you, it's amazing.
He's gonna get you. So
yes. Oh. So, with my love of VR, I'd have to put a VR game up there. The other one, I'm gonna say I've been into BattleTech lately. MechWarrior 5 Clans. It's definitely a niche product, but we're in kind of the golden age of BattleTech right now in terms of support, to where I'm looking forward to it. And you're playing as Clan Smoke Jaguar, and they are basically awful people. And there's something called the Turtle Bay invasion, and think of it like famously Halo Reach, when the Covenant invaded Reach and ended up glassing the planet. Think of it like that, but you're playing as the Covenant. So I'm looking forward to that. And finally, I'm going to curb conventions here and say a game that I'm sure is going to sell like gangbusters, but I absolutely cannot wait. Astrobot on the PS5, a full-fledged flat screen platformer of Astrobot, which I think has been Sony's best effort at a classic platformer, and no other developer has come close into matching its casual pick up and playness and likability. Astro is one of the most aesthetically pleasing characters that Sony has ever designed, and I'm super excited to play.
Did they ever drop that Perfect Dark game?
No, 2025.
Dang, all right.
Yep. But yeah, that's what
did Microsoft ever get to the bottom of all those like studio shenanigans because they kept on putting out all those boasted ass games?
They did. We'll see. Indiana Jones comes out. That's going to be the first of their acquisitions to come out. The Indiana Jones game, October 20th. So we'll see.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't get nostalgia like that, but I don't really care about like a lot of these remakes and stuff. I don't know. Maybe I was a true fan, like Indiana Jones, like
that's not a remake.
Perfect Dark. No, I'm saying like Perfect Dark, or like new games based on like old IPs, or new movies based on old stuff, or spin-off.
Sure.
I'm just like, it's just,
yeah, that's all right. It's gonna be a first-person adventure game, so I just
feel like I'm getting old, man. I tried to watch like some anime, and I was just like kind of bored. It was just like, man, and I can't tell if it's the new season. I'm like, no,
Or
it's
if
the kids
you.
that are out of
Yeah,
touch.
for sure. But yeah, man. And then to kind of wrap up everything here, I'll give a little game dev update. I've been, it's the last week of summer for my kids. I've been playing with them mostly. My
Nice.
my daughter has been interested in some coding stuff, and she's 7.
Oh, dang.
So I got her Code Spark to just teach coding stuff.
That's
So
fun,
that's been fun to see her go, and she's been asking about games that I've made in the past and how they work and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So definitely loaded up the editor and showed her what things do and everything, and she's been
that's
like
really
just
cool.
absorbing that. So that's been a cool like father moment and so my daughter's being interested in my hobbies. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. So I do have some days off when the kids are in school that I just took just to like have like a me day. You know what I mean? So I do plan
sure.
on doing some deep diving game dev stuff in. And you may have seen me on I was rocking Game Maker last week for like a good 12 hours.
Oh,
I had
dang,
I had
man, it's a lot.
uninterrupted time to just jump in, dive in.
Just crushing it.
I got my arrays completed. I have the blocks going down, and now I'm just finding the fun once again in it. But
Yeah, man.
mechanically, the stuff's there. So yeah,
That's what's up,
really
man.
good. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I
So
haven't really been doing any game dev stuff. I've just been waiting kind of for winter. I'm waiting to
yeah,
like wrap up like the first volume of this book, and then
hmm
I was probably gonna take like a little bit of a hiatus, do some editing to it, and then like work on some sort of game. I've had like a few of those demos I sent you where I was like, I kind of want
yes,
to finish
expand
some of
on.
that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, man, just been relaxing mostly, dude.
Got to, man. Especially
That's
with
the end of summer lull, dude.
it is, it
The
is, it
last
is. That's where
throws.
I'm at too. Exactly. So yeah, man. Good talk. This has been the Combo Wombo podcast. I'm Mr. Gimpy. That's
Chipmunk,
like, share, subscribe. We are back next week. Hey, yeah, bish.
we out. Peace.